The last 72 hours have been very interesting, especially in the Black sector of social media. We've been getting back into some of the historical debates that we've had in the Black community for the last 60 to 70 years, even before that. And that is, why are talented African Americans leaving the Black community, going to greater America, and not building resources in the community they come from? This same conversation can be matched with the African brain drain, which is pretty much the same problem that's hurting the Black world all over. If you talk about Black America, you talk about the Nigerians, you talk about Ugandans, Kenyans. Why are talented Africans or Blacks leaving and never coming back, building in their own respective communities? And this conversation has been ignited by Deion Sanders, the legendary NFL cornerback and current head coach of Jackson State University, taking the job at University of Colorado. Now, at Jackson State, he was making around $300,000 a year. And not only was he making just that small amount of money, there was a hard time with some of the funding for the school. The staff didn't have a lot of things. Jackson, Mississippi had a water problem. And oh, by the way, Deion Sanders, in his office and car, there were multiple break-ins. His son, the quarterback, multiple break-ins. So Jackson State is in the hood, right? So you're facing all of that adversity. Now, let's talk about University of Colorado. $5 million a year. It's a big difference than $300,000 a year, like almost by 1,600%. You have a private jet. You're in Boulder, Colorado, which is one of the most affluent cities in America. Life's looking good. But Deion Sanders has been criticized. And if we can look at some of the comments that are maybe going by right now, you can read some of them. I'm not going to read them now, but you can see the disdain that a lot of African Americans have for Mr. Deion Sanders because he's not staying. He's going. He's leaving the Black world to go work for whites, and he's not building up the Black community. But I want to talk about somebody that has passed away, but his work, to me, is very legendary. That is the Ghanaian economist George Ayete. Now, George Ayete wrote several books, but one of the things that he talked about a lot, besides defeating African dictators, was how socialism ruined Africa, which is one of my favorite topics I like to check out all the time. And embedded in the socialism ruining Africa talk was the lack of private enterprise that Africans failed to create to basically uplift the private sector to bring more development into Africa and then get more investment in, right? And a lot of that has to do with bad governmental policies. Now, I'm not calling out any African country at this time by name, but if you can look at countries in Africa, one of the problems that they have is a lack of foreign investment. But in this particular clip, I want to talk about something that is relative to Black America. And that is, he's going to talk about domestic investment. That means people from that respective country refusing to invest in their own communities. Now I'm going to play this particular clip and then we're going to come right back.
Because the judiciary systems that we have in Africa are not independent. The third requirement is you must have some basic functioning infrastructure in Africa. The electricity system must work, the water supply system must be reliable, the road system must also work. But infrastructure in many African countries have simply crumbled because of neglect. Number 4, you need to have some basic freedoms of economic freedom, political freedom, and intellectual freedom. Intellectual freedom and free flow of information is very critical to business people and investors. But African governments want to control the media and flow of information. Why? Because when they're doing bad, they don't want their people to know. Number 5, you need to have some basic stability. You need to have economic stability, political stability, and social stability. Nobody is going to invest in a country which is racked by chaos and instability. You need to have that kind of stability has eluded many African countries. And finally, you need to have some basic system of incentives. By incentives, we mean that all of us, we want to have nice cars, nice houses, and so forth, etc., right? But in every society must make a rule. And that rule is those who get ahead are those who become successful or rich. It is not like this in Africa. If you want to be rich, you enter into politics in Africa. Because the richest people are the heads of state, the crooks, the ministers, and so forth. All right, so the system of incentives that we have in Africa is completely distorted. Those who sing praises to the governments or to the despots in power are those who are made ambassadors and ministers. All right, and we have to replace this system, sycophancy, for example, with a system which rewards hard work and initiative. If we can have these, the rule of law, property rights, and so forth, stability and so forth, then we'll be able to create the enabling environment which would attract investment. And even I'll say that forget about the foreign investors, concentrate more on domestic investment. Because if Nigerians themselves are not investing in their own countries, why should Americans? Do Americans know something which Nigerians do not know? And why would Americans invest in Nigeria when the Nigerian heads of state and ministers are taking their money out of the country? It is the same like in Russia, for example. Capital flight out of Russia is almost 50 billion. And why would anybody invest in a company when those inside the company are taking their money out? So we need to create an enabling environment. And that enabling environment requires property rights, security of persons and property, some basic functioning infrastructure, basic freedoms, and so forth. But the mafia states that we have in Africa are not interested.
So you heard what George Ayede had to say. Now, you're probably going to think, what does that have to do with Black America? He's talking about Nigeria in this clip, but look at the whole idea. He's talking about, first of all, governmental policies have made it, the wrong business environment for investment to happen, period. Meaning that there is no investment going on anywhere. Small pockets, but not a lot, all right? But he said something particular that I like. If Nigerians won't invest in their own country, why should they? And they means foreign investment. Why should foreign investment come in to a country if the people in the country don't trust their own ability to invest and build up their own nation when they have the ability to do it? Now, you're still not getting it, right? I get it. But you people out there who feel so bad about Deion Sanders leaving from the University of Colorado, my question is to you. Where is your investment in Black America? Here's where we get crickets, okay? Here's the problem that we have in the Black world. Africa, Black America, the Caribbean, we expect other people to do the same things that we will never do. That's right. That's what we expect to do. We sit, we call it Monday morning quarterbacks. The people who sit back on their ass all the time and they give their opinions, but they never achieve anything. That's many of y'all, because y'all talk real bad about Deion Sanders, but where are you when it comes to supporting Black business? You're nowhere to be found, are you? No. When it comes to promoting anything that's Black, you're not there. Do you even own anything in the Black community or Africa or anything? Nothing. You don't promote anything. And by the way, you can't talk about me, stop the show, because I got the Pan-African Dating Show. Make sure you go over there, subscribe, hit the bell. But all my money derived from the Black community, and I'm a Black entrepreneur. That's all I do. I deal with the people that look like me for a reason. Now, everybody's not going to be like me. Somebody like Deion Sanders, he came from the NFL, he has talent. I'm not going to say he's too big or too good to stay at Jackson State. It would be nice, but again, we won't pay him. The Black community could come together and make a fund to keep somebody like Deion Sanders, and we have the money to do it, we just won't. But we get mad when they go away. But you won't even invest into your own community. So why should Deion Sanders? Are you going to pay for the security guards that break into his car when he's trying to help our young men become better men? Or will you sit there and Monday morning quarterback because it's not your car being broken into, is it? No, it's not. It's not your car being broken into. It's somebody else's car being broken into. When his kids don't feel safe, his girlfriend or wife doesn't feel safe because he's being targeted. Now, the good people at Jackson, Mississippi, obviously many of them are appreciative of Deion Sanders, and so are the players and the staff. But you do have your Pookies and Ray Ray classes that y'all won't even live next to because you live in a middle class neighborhood. You live in an upper middle class neighborhood, but you're sitting back talking about it's not about the money. What about your money? Do you put money towards the black community to see things you want to see? Or do you just talk? Because for me, I live what I'm talking about. I'm all across the black world. If it's not here, if it's not Rwanda, if it's not Nigeria, if it's not Black America, I spend my money and support people with what I'm talking about. I live this lifestyle, but do you? And that is the problem. You want to invest in the black world, but you expect others to do what you will not, which is why we don't have anything. So when black talent comes in and then they leave, don't get mad because they left. Be mad because you left. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Well, O'Shea, you went to Poland to go to medical school because that's the medical school that I got into. Sorry, I wasn't always the most brightest kid in the world. I couldn't get into Meharry. I tried to, but I finished nonetheless. And what did I do when I came? When I finished, I decided to pursue my career in that, and I wanted to become a black entrepreneur. And that's what I focus on. But what about you? All of you left. None of you own black businesses. None of you own black equipment. All of you that pretty much talk about Deion Sanders, you work for white people. Nothing is wrong with that. But you wouldn't even come to Jackson State to build the program. But you're the biggest ones talking about it when the person that signs your check ain't a black person. And this is the sort of hypocrisy that we got to get away from. If you want to see something in Black America done or in Africa done, how about you shut up and you go do it yourself? Stop asking people to make sacrifices that you won't make. That's why we have failing black cities. Baltimore. You wanna know why? You don't get black investment into Baltimore. Detroit. Now, don't get me wrong. Detroit and certain cities like Baltimore had a big manufacturing hub or a car hub, and I get it. Many enterprises had businesses there. But where were the black businesses? Because 50% of all jobs are created by small business in America. Small and medium enterprises. Where are the black businesses that sustained it? They're not there. Wanna know why? Because you didn't build them. You didn't build them. So we don't have it. Black private schools, wanna know why we don't have it? You didn't build it. With your $1.6 trillion spending power. Okay? Why some of our black colleges closed down? Morris Brown, anybody in Atlanta? You didn't donate to it. That's why we don't have it. Simple as that. And we got to get away from the culture of complainers and listen to who the people that are actually doing the work. And typically the people who do the work don't talk as much. And I know this is going to be scathing to some of you, but it's the same problem we have in all the black world. Africa, the Caribbean, especially North American blacks. We talk a lot, we're not saying nothing. And that's why I don't begrudge Deion Sanders for making that decision, because everybody else does it. You just expect him to do it because he already has money, because he's already worked hard and used his talent to keep working hard doing what he's doing. He should always be forced to give back to the black community when you don't, and you won't. But you want to be somebody special, that somebody should listen to you when you don't do anything for our people at all? You need to shut your mouth. That's what you need to do. And that's anybody in the black world. If you have a problem with it, it's okay. But what do you do for your people every day? I don't care where you're from. If you're Ugandan, if you're from Nigeria, if you're from Jamaica, and you criticize others for taking their talents away, you can at least do something. What do? Even if you don't have what he has, you can do something. You can volunteer. You can do at least something. But the problem that I have is you don't do nothing but run your mouth. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson. Back at it again. I'm out.